everybody. Welcome to the fifth quarter. Gary Apple alongside John Riggins. It is the Giants over the Jets at Giants Stadium today, 41-28. All right, big fella. Out at the stadium this morning, you said Jets in a rout. I'm going to hold you to that, man. Hey, where'd this Giants offense come from?
Do you have a feather on you? Because if you do, you can knock me down with it. I have no idea. I'll tell you where it started with, though. The very first series, I thought, for the Giants. They came out 3 straight runs, a first down. I think that gave everybody, calmed them down, gave them a lot of confidence, and kind of set the tone for what they were going to do today. All
right, just a note here. The Redskins are trailing Detroit 33-17 late in the fourth quarter, and so it would appear that Giants are suddenly back in the playoff picture. The Redskins will fall to 7-5. The Giants are now 6-6 and just a game out of first place in the division. Let's head for the highlights, John, and we begin very early on. You mentioned Kerry Collins came out firing today, rolling out of the pocket here, and I thought that was key, gave him some time to do things.
Yeah, they definitely moved him around, and I'll tell you what, though, the receivers were open. There were a lot of separation between the receivers and the defensive back covering. Little razzle-dazzle here. Patton's going to take the end around, and this is a big gain. He runs it all the way down to, I believe, about the 6-yard line. Fassel basically said, hey, what do we got to lose? Pulled all the stops out.
And then it set up this touchdown. Joe Montgomery, the first 100-yard rusher, Giant rusher this year, in for the 4-yard score. He went over 100 yards, and the Giants were up 10-0. Then next drive, Collins to Toomer, and what a day for Toomer, John.
Yeah, he was. This was a track meet for Amani Toomer today. Right there, Aaron Glenn goes, misses the tackle. He just bounces it to the outside, and there's nobody there, all the way down for a touchdown.
17-0 before the Jets could even catch their breath. And good catch right here by Keyshawn Johnson. And John, this was close whether he got his feet down, but that's a big-time play.
Oh, I'm telling you what, when I first saw it, I felt like it was a touchdown, and I also felt that Keyshawn made a tremendous catch on that.
All right, it was 17-7. Then later in the second quarter, Pete Mitchell had a wonderful game for the Giants. This set up a touchdown. He was down to the 1-yard line, and the Giants were in command 27-7 at the half. But third quarter, Toomer again, I mean, he just burned Aaron Glenn all day long.
Yeah, he basically had his way out there. And I'll tell you what, it's surprising because the Giants actually threw the ball less than 20 times, I believe, and most of them were completions, though.
That was Coleman right there. And then the Jets trying to make something happen, but Keith Hamilton is right there to make the stops.
Well, you see, this is the kind of day. By then, this thing had completely turned in the Giants' favor. They had everybody behind them. The team was working as one. There was no disharmony on the team. And right here you see Lucas. He comes back, gets fumbles the ball, and then jumps on top of it. Still comes up with a big loss, though, down there when they're trying to score.
It was 34-7 at this point. The Jets desperately trying to make something happen. And Lucas here, this was fourth down, rolling out. This is what he does best. And off the deflection, look what I found, Eric Green.
Well, and unfortunately, it was too little too late. I mean, that's the kind of play that you needed in the first half to kind of get this momentum turned around. It wasn't quite enough.
And this was it. This was really the stamp of approval for the Giants today. You see the time remaining late in the game. Toomer again. And what a day for him. 180 yards receiving. There he goes in for the touchdown, made the final 41-28 as the Jets got a late touchdown. Corbett had 2 today, but the Giants winning it in relatively simple fashion. Let's head out to the stadium right now. Bill Parcells is at the podium. Let's hear what Bill has to say.
Kind of game or effort on our behalf. They were much better prepared than we were, and they made a much better effort, and the results showed it. We had absolutely no chance to win the game. There was one moment there where I thought late that if we could have made it 3 and out, might have been able to get 2 minutes and get back in the game, but we gave up a long touchdown right there. That's the only time I had any hope that we might be able to get in the game. So I take responsibility for the lack of preparation and the lack of effort on the part of our team. They didn't play well, and I don't really know the reason why. But we were certainly outplayed and outprepared and outcoached and out everything. And I'll tell you, I'm ashamed. This is the first time in 3 years I've been ashamed. So I'll answer any questions I can, but it's going to be short, fellas.
Bill, could you see this coming from practice?
No. I couldn't see it coming from practice. We just played very poorly today. And we're running out of guys, too, so.
Defensively, you've been pretty solid all season.
We weren't solid today. We were awful today. That's about as bad as I've seen in a long time.
Well, when you saw the early tide changing so quickly, was there anything that you were trying to do or
change the game plan? I mean, we couldn't get what we had going. I mean, we didn't have a chance to get any continuity at all there for a while. So.
You say you're running out of guys. Were there injuries today or just?
Yeah, there was some today. Mickens, he's out. I don't know how bad he is, but I don't know, hamstring or something. Wilt's hurt his toe. Got a lot of guys limping around. So.
Bill, did they do things differently than what you've seen?
Not really. Not a lot. They had a good plan, but it wasn't, you know, it wasn't anything no different formations or really, no, not much. They just executed, and we really gave very little effort. I mean, we really did. We didn't really give much effort. So,
You guys gave up the ball.
huh?
You guys stopped
Well, I just say we just didn't give a good effort. And we couldn't ever get anything going. So, I'll take the responsibility for that.
Bill, on Toomer's touchdown, I think there was about 6 minutes left in the third. It was debatable whether we had the two down. Do you think, why didn't you challenge?
Because my coaches said he had him down in the booth. He said they thought they had him down. I asked him that.
How did Ray do today?
Well, fellas, nobody did very well.
Bill, was this hurt more than the second?
No, no, I told you, I'm ashamed of it. I really am. It was very poor, extremely poor, and I'm certainly not used to that kind of effort.
You think of the last time, not necessarily here, but just last time coaching in?
Boy, it's been a long time. I mean, it's been 4 or 5 years since I had one of those. We had one in New England against Denver one night, one very good, about like that. That's about the last time I can remember. So.
After halftime, did you address the troops and let them know that you discussed it for the play?
I told them it was a poor effort, yeah.
So how can you take responsibility for their effort?
Who else is going to take it?
Well, isn't it?
You think they're all going to wave their hand and say it was me?
I'm just saying, you can take responsibility for their preparation.
I take responsibility for everything.
It just seemed like, you know,
We
by the
stunk.
first quarter, the guys were just quitting.
We stunk. Okay? So we can leave it at that, and I can say it a lot of different ways, but I've already said it about 3 different ways. I'll just say they played a lot better than we did. I give them credit. They were well prepared. We weren't. We didn't give good effort. They did. And right now, if we play like that, we have no chance to win any other games. Okay, fellas?
Our team is physically.
All right, we heard the words of Bill Parcells. He said he is ashamed of his team. Now we see Jim Fassel at the podium. Let's go to Jim.
You know, we ended up with, again, losing Sehorn during the game and our center and some other things. I was very proud of this team that we were able to go out and focus and play with the intensity and the physicalness of it. One of the things we wanted to do in this game is be physical with them. You know, they run the ball real well, and we needed to start running the ball well. I think probably the key for us there was Joe Montgomery running the ball, even though no matter where it was going to get to, he was going to fight and get an extra yard or two, which kept us, you know, we were going to try to pound at him and keep it in the 3rd down and reasonable situation. But I think without a doubt that's the key. I think we played a smart overall game. Talked this team about all week as far as keeping their composure, keeping their focus, and being physical with them. And we did that. And that allowed a lot of things to open up. I thought Kerry played an outstanding game. And I think our defense showed a tremendous amount of toughness and staying with it. You know, although I know they were real good in running the football, and we did outstanding in that category, I think they got behind and they abandoned that. I'll also tell you that, you know, I'm very proud of my offensive staff, Jim Skipper, who, you know, those guys, when I left and I kind of gave them some instructions and I said what I wanted to do this week and I didn't tell anybody, basically, other than he and Sean Payton, and I told Sean early in the week, I said, you're going to call this game. I said, advisor and an overall strategist, watching the game, doing some things missing the initial preparation for this game and then having to catch up, the emotions I'd gone through and all the baggage and wear and tear I've been coming out. I made that change early in the week, and I didn't want anybody else to know. Not that it was a secret, other than it's part of strategy, and I want to keep it that way. So I thought he did an outstanding job with the game. But like I told this team last night, and it was a lot easier for me to say it because it's not a self-statement, is that, gentlemen, it doesn't matter about the play call. It matters how you execute that play. And I thought our execution was very, very good today. But I think the whole offensive staff did a good job.
All right, Jim Fassel at Giant Stadium, very happy with his team. I thought very interesting, John. Sean Payton, he said his 36-year-old quarterback coach was the guy who called the plays today. We'll get into that and have a lot more from out at Giant Stadium when we come right back here on the 5th quarter, where the Giants beat the Jets today 41-28. Back in a moment.
Fifth quarter brought to you in part by your Toyota dealer. Visit us at driveatoyota.com.
Welcome back to the fifth quarter. Gary Apple alongside John Riggins. Let's go back out to Giant Stadium right now where the star of the game is standing by with our own Vince DeMentri, the former Temple linebacker who we've called into action today. Vince, you're on, man.
Yeah, a long time ago, but with me the star of the day, Amani Toomer. Amani, this had to be a huge win for the Giants.
Oh yeah, it was a big win. You know, there was a lot of stuff going on around the locker room this week, and for us to come out and play like the way we did and put up the kind of numbers we did, you know, we're real happy with ourselves right now.
During the week, Mike Strahan had talked about challenging the offense, saying that he was tired of the defense carrying this team for the last 5 or 6 years. Was this a representation, the offense, the 41 points of the comments that Mike made?
Well, I think that, we had a little quarterback, controversy throughout the whole beginning of the year. But I think now that everything is pretty much settled the way it's going to be, and, we got confidence in the quarterback that's in there. And just like we had confidence in Kent. But I think that, with the way that our offense is looking right now, we're pretty confident.
Talk to me late in the game. The Jets are making it interesting. It's 34-21. It's a 3rd and 10, and it looks like man-to-man on a straight post. You go, 60, 70 yards for a touchdown?
I don't know how many yards it was, but Kerry just, he's been putting the ball in great spots all day. On the slant earlier in the day, I was running inside. Glenn cut in front of me. Kerry put it right on my back hip, gave me the opportunity to make a move and get in the open field.
They seem to be playing you a lot man-to-man today. A little bit of surprise for you?
Well, no. They got some really talented corners out there. And, if you got talented corners, you want to match them up against the receivers. And I think that's what they did. And, when you do that, sometimes it works for you, sometimes it doesn't.
What did Coach Fassel say to the team before the game, trying to put all of this aside?
He just really went to us and was just like, there's 5 games left. Whatever's going on in the press and the media and all that stuff, just forget about it. We're going to go out and play these next 5 games, and we're just going to see what happens. We're not out of the playoff picture, and with the momentum we developed today, we're heading on the right track.
Right. You talked about a huge win here, but the way in which you did it, this wasn't just a squeaker where you won by a field goal. You really blew this team away, a team that had been playing pretty well defensively. What does that do for the next 5 games of the season?
I just think it just helps us, mentally, because the game is probably 90% mental, once you get to this level. So I think that once we, get that confidence together, the sky's the limit with what our offense can do.
Right, I got a couple of guys in the studio here, John Riggins and Gary Apple. You ready?
Yeah,
hey,
I'm
Vince.
ready.
Hey, Amani, listen. Why were you in particular, and the Giant receivers in general, able to get so much separation today from the defenders? I can't remember recently you guys being so wide open.
I think that, we usually get, pretty open. I think the fact that, the ball was coming in great areas for us today, giving us to catch the ball and get upfield. It was on time, it was quick, right out of our breaks, and I think that helps a lot when we, when we're turning upfield and when you see the separation on TV.
Amani, Gary Apple here in the studio. How much of today's game could be credited to the fact that Jim was away and he put things in the hands of Sean Payton, the 36-year-old quarterback coach, and he really called the plays today, and it was a different offense that we saw. How much of the performance can be credited to that?
I think Coach Fassel calls great games. I think they both call good games. I think the play is only part of the reason why we did well today. I think it was our team that made a decision that we wanted to play and we wanted to compete, and that's what happens when we do come out and do that.
Amani, John Riggins again here, did you feel like the very first drive that you come out, you give the ball 3 straight times to Joe Montgomery, he picks up a first down. Did that kind of get the offense? I mean, for linemen, I know they kind of get into where they're ready to start knocking people around. Did you guys all kind of flare your nostrils at this point in the game and say, yeah, we're there?
Yeah, well, last night when they went over the opening 12 plays of the game, the first 3 plays were runs, and I think that just settled everybody down because we knew what was going to happen, and the line got in their mind that they wanted to come through and block, and this is what they've been asking for, and this is what they got, and this is how they show the coaches that we can run the ball, and we got a good running back in there that can run the ball up in the middle between the tackles.
All right, Amani, congratulations. A wonderful game for you and for the Jets today. We'll get back out to Giant Stadium in a short while. Vince, we'll see you in a few minutes. He did have a wonderful game today, but the guy putting the ball ball on the button was Kerry Collins. He's the first Giant quarterback to throw for over 300 yards since Phil Simms back in '93. What a performance by Collins today.
Yeah, actually, I think the Giants may have scored more points today than they have since they started putting face masks on helmets. I can't remember, but Kerry Collins was just, he had the kind of game that I'm sure that Fassel all along has been hoping he would have, because it was a complete game. He didn't have the mental mistakes today that he's had in the past, and that's exactly what Fassel felt like he was at this point in the season with the Giants, to get him in and start playing. And he showed some flashes of brilliance when he comes in down Washington 2 weeks ago. He had some real nice flashes last week, but not a whole game. Today, he put it together.
All right, let's take a break, John. Much more ahead here on the 5th quarter. Again, the Giants beating the Jets 41-28. Hey, man, the Giants are back in the playoff picture. I never thought I'd say it. Back with more in just a moment.
5th quarter is brought to you by TD Waterhouse.
All right, welcome back to the 5th quarter. Gary Apple alongside John Riggins. We'll Pepper Johnson, who's standing by outside the Jets locker room in just a moment. A couple of key injuries today for the Giants, even though they won today. Jason Sehorn broke a bone in his leg, man, if that's not bad news for him. And Brian Williams, the center, left with a sprained knee. They're going to check that out. It could be even worse. But, John, here's the Sehorn play that might have caused the injury. We're not sure.
Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting because Keyshawn is the one that gets up a little slow here, but actually I believe it took Sehorn out of the game.
Sehorn, you see on crutches right there. He left in the 1st quarter. He's coming off the terrible knee injury he had a year ago. He's just beginning to find a flow out there, John.
Well, that's what's been happening. It's taken him this far in the season, actually, to get back to where he was last year when he got hurt. Now, all of a sudden, he's got another injury. And definitely not good for the Giants' stretch run.
All right, let's head back out to Giant Stadium. Pepper Johnson standing by with Bryan Cox. Pepper, take it away. Pepper, you're on.
Thanks, Gary. Thank you, guys. BC, earlier, Coach Parcells said that the guys was kind of flat, starting the ball game out, and pretty much played flat during the whole course of the game. Did you see signs of that during the course of the week of practice?
Well, this wasn't particularly our best week of practice that we've had, man, but we didn't play well at all today. We got whooped in all facets of the game, and there are no excuses, man. And, I talked about being in a situation of where I'd rather get beat by 50 than to get beat by a point, man. And this was one of those good old-fashioned butt whoopings.
Yeah, and I'm definitely bringing you guys down. The cause of, I guess, last week figuring that you guys are not in the playoffs, did that have a cause for this?
I don't think so, man. I don't buy into that. Each game, as you know, is an individual game. And, we just didn't play well, man. I don't have an answer to why we didn't play well, but as a team, we didn't really do well. They had 200 yards at the end of the 1st quarter, man. That's bad.
Hey, Brian, John Riggins here.
Hey, John.
How you doing? Hey, listen, when you start out the game, the Giants, to me, they start off, they have the football. They run 3 straight running plays. Now, you had to come into this game as a defensive player. What was your expectations, and what was the reality of seeing this offense come straight at you and getting a 1st down right off the bat? I mean, going in, you kind of had to think that, hey, we can play these guys pretty tough defensively.
Well, my initial thought was that we weren't playing against Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison, man. I mean, it ain't like they've been putting up all kind of points. So I thought that it would be a ball control game. I thought that it would be a defensive struggle, man. But they really proved us wrong. Offensively, they came in, had a couple new twists, did some things differently. And they just really played well, man. And you have to give them some credit, man. But also you have to kick yourself in the butt, man, because it don't look like we prepared well at all. I mean, we look bad from the onset.
All right, Brian, thank you very much. Again, Bryan Cox with Pepper Johnson outside the Jets locker room. We'll get back to Pepper in a short while. Jason Sehorn, we understand, is at the podium right now. Let's head to his press conference. Here's Jason.
Conscious because I just had to kind of touch him and he fell down. And then the 3rd play, I realized there was too much movement.
So you already had pain in that Keyshawn play where he...
Oh, yeah. I thought I just had a calf bruise, though, because I didn't feel the clicking at that time. Not until I planted to drive did it kind of give a little.
What did that cause you so far?
It's a bone. And the fortunate thing is, for me, I guess no one's going to be upset if the next time we play the Jets I decide to take the week off. That when they do start checking around your knee and everything, that it's not your knee. Because I've been in that situation before, and it's kind of like something you don't want. So I'm sitting there talking to the doctor. It's not my knee, really. And the nice part is it wasn't my knee. It was just a bone. Probably the least used bone in your body, but nevertheless.
Jason, after what you have already been through, taking the year off, rehabbing, and heck, trying to make it back, what is this kind of setback in you?
It's just part of life. It's just something you deal with. It's just there. There's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing I can do to change it. As I said before, last time something like this happened, there's really no sense in reflecting on it too much. You just go forward and take the necessary steps to get better. And it's part of playing football.
So you're giving you time frame on
I don't know. I really don't know. I've never broken a bone before, so this is kind of new to me. You know, I got all these new things I get to go through in life, and that's always fun.
Jason, after opening day, Bill Parcells said this year is a humbling game. Have you been humbled these past few years at all?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it's a good thing. We all need to be humbled in life at times. We all need to experience our ups and downs. They build character, and I would venture to say I've got enough of that now.
Jason,
you talked about when you came back to rehab, the mental aspect of the game and everything, and trying to get your mind into that. What are you going to do now that you have the experience of knowing that you're a big component to try to rehab this year?
I think the frustrating thing is I was just starting to feel a little bit better. I felt good out there today. The last couple of weeks have felt a little bit more confident in my, techniques and things like that. So yeah, in that aspect, taking 3-4 weeks off isn't going to help matters. But it's been a long 12 months, and there's nothing I can do about that but learn from it and make the most of it.
Jason, I think this injury occurred through your normal course of being a quarterback as opposed to running back. Does that make it a little bit easier to deal with, to accept?
It's football, so I don't really look at it that way. I mean, it's just part of being on that field between the white lines, and it just happened. And, you can say, okay, at least I did it this time, and I was actually playing, doing what I was asked to do.
Jason Sehorn in incredibly good spirits, John, considering he's out for the year here.
I was just getting ready to say that, Gary. I mean, he takes adversity better than anybody I've I've seen it. It's almost a point where, hey, Jason, you don't have to be politically correct here. Yep. Show us that, that you're pretty upset about that. But obviously, he just, kind of absorbs it and moves on.
Certainly one of the few bad spots for the Giants today is they beat the Jets 41-28. Let's take a break here on the fifth quarter. Much more ahead. We'll head back out to Giant Stadium when we come back here on the fifth quarter.
Promotional consideration provided by AudioVox, an international leader in the wireless industry for over 15 years and maker of the CDM 4000 digital cellular telephone. Make AudioVox your choice.
Welcome back to the fifth quarter. Gary Apple alongside John Riggins, and John Michael Strahan went off on the offense this week. It was a firestorm. Fassel came back, tried to smooth things over. Did it have any effect on the way the Giants played today?
I have to believe that it did, Gary, and I'll tell you why. Because, you know what, that had to be said. Unfortunately, Michael Strahan was the guy that had to say it, but I have to believe that almost all of his defensive teammates, along with probably some of his defensive coaches, felt the same frustration. And, when you're frustrated like that and you can't speak out about it, it just continues. It begets more frustration. I think he cleared the air. Everybody heard what he had to say, and everybody did basically what they had to do. He had to go talk to Coach Fassel. He had to apologize and all this. But still, he put it out there, and these people responded to it. I mean, this was a different Giant football team.
Another guy who was silenced earlier in the year was Jesse Armstead. He sort of mouthed off. Fassel quieted him down. It didn't work, and Armstead played a heck of a game today. Why would it work this time, John, and not the last time with Jesse?
Well, I'll tell you what, a couple of things, actually. I think, if you look at the way they approached this game, they ran the ball. I mean, they put a lot of pressure on the offense, really, to go out and be tough guys, I think. And guess what? It worked. These guys responded very well. They ran the ball. I mean, Montgomery himself ran it 38 times. So I'm telling you, they had an attitude, and that's what the difference was.
All right, Keyshawn Johnson is out at Giant Stadium right now. Let's head out there.
AG coming? ESPN's on that quick. Tomorrow?
All right, apparently we are not hearing from Keyshawn. Technical difficulties. We'll try to get back to him if we can. One thing I thought, John, that was interesting today on the sidelines, you saw a lot of congratulations amongst the Giant players. I mean, these were guys who were divided in many corners coming into this game, but we didn't see it today.
Yeah, well, and that's my whole point is somehow, some way, I think, Armstead started it 2 weeks ago after the Giant loss, and then, and then Strahan made his comment, and somehow, some way, that got the offense came out and did what they had to do, and that's exactly what brought this team back together, and they became a team today. I got to be honest with you, I didn't necessarily think they were going to pull this thing out. I thought the plane was going into the side of the mountain, but they got the nose up, and so far, so good.
How about Ray Lucas? There has been talk, is this guy? The guy is auditioning for the backup job next year. He is now 2-3 as the Jets starting quarterback. Did Hugh show you anything today?
Here's the bad thing. Ray Lucas has a huge game 3 weeks ago, and then he follows it up with a big game against Buffalo, and then all of a sudden last week he cools off in Indianapolis. And the same thing today. He played a fired-up Giants defense that was out and ready to play football. They didn't, let this distraction get to him. And unfortunately, Ray Lucas right now is going backwards a little bit, and he needs to stop that backslide.
All right, let's take another break, John. Much more ahead here on the show, but for now, let's step away, commercial messages, then we'll come back here on the fifth quarter.
Fifth quarter brought to you in part by Delta Airlines, the official airline of the New York Jets.
This was a huge day for Giant receivers, 181 yards for Amani Toomer. Ike Hilliard had 121 yards. Aaron Glenn was one of the guys trying to keep up with them today, and he is standing by with Pepper Johnson. Go ahead, Pepper.
Thanks, Gary. Aaron, uncharacteristic of the Jets defense. He gave up a few big plays, running the ball up the middle, catching a few passes up the middle.
You know what? It was one of those days where it seemed like things just didn't go right. And the thing is, you want to eliminate those plays, eliminate those days, and it just happens. The thing is how we're going to bounce back next week against Miami.
Do you think, like, during the course of the week, that guys didn't, I guess, really understand how big this game was going to be, the battle of the two New York teams?
I think we understood it. It was just the fact that they came out a little bit more aggressive. They came out making more plays. And when you get that momentum, especially with the Giants being here and the Jets playing here, they had a lot of fans here, and they got that momentum. The thing is, we didn't stop that momentum, and they just kept going with it.
Kerry?
Aaron, thank you very much. We'll let you guys get away, and we'll head out to Joe Montgomery, who is standing by with Vince DeMentri. Joe, 111 yards rushing today. Vince, go ahead.
Yeah, 111 yards, and most of those yards coming in between the guards. Talk to me about the much maligned criticism of the offensive line today. They played perfect. Brian Williams, the center, is out in the first half, and they didn't miss a beat.
Well, I think the line, my efforts for itself in terms of how great the line did. I mean, everybody wanted to talk about maybe yards, but it's the line. I mean, I may have to run over a couple people here and now, but in terms of that, the line did a heck of a job.
Joe, talk to me about how big this game was for you throughout the season. You've had a bit of the injury bug. Today you came back. You seem to be strong. I asked you earlier if there are any dings or dinks. You said you're a little sore, but be expected.
I mean, that's to be expected how many times I carried the ball, but this whole year, or this whole season rather, it's been very challenging. It's been very frustrating for me. So the biggest thing I wanted to come in the game is just have a good outing and wanted to go to war with my brothers.
Okay, let's go into the studio. Gary Apple, John Riggins got a couple questions for you.
Yeah, hey, Joe, John Riggins, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Let me ask you something. Were you surprised with the number of carries that you got?
Well, earlier in the week, Coach Fassel said, how you feel? I said, feel good. He said, how many times you carried the ball? I said, I carried about 40, 45 times, joking. He said, good, because the ball only weighs about 0.5 pounds.
Well, now, you must have learned a lesson there. You better say what you mean and mean what you say, because he took you at your word. I tell you what, go ahead.
Well, I love to get the ball. I mean, I'm a running back, so, I mean, I love to get it.
Joe, Gary Apple here in the studio. How much was the crowd an influence today? Even though two teams that play in the same stadium, it was a Giants home game. Did it make a difference?
I think it really made a big difference because, I mean, you could tell the crowd was just really intense. I mean, and it added more fuel to the fire for us to go out there in our home stadium with the opposition being the New York Jets. We're the New York Giants, so it's more of a bragging rights and turf rights.
Joe, when you realized that you were going to start the game, based on the criticism that the offense has received, and I'm sure that you felt at times throughout the season, it seemed to me at the beginning of the game that this offense, everybody to a man, went out with a purpose today. Did you have anything going like at the end of practice on Friday or before today? Did you get together and say, hey, we got to get it going?
No, I think just this week everybody was really focused in terms of how the media tried to break up the offense or the defense or whatever, try to separate us. But Coach Fassel did a great job of, mending all that and getting our focus in terms of going out there and playing that football game.
All right, Joe, congratulations. Joe Montgomery, the rookie out of Ohio State, 111 yards rushing. Joe, do we still have Vince on the line? Vince, are you there?
I'm still here.
I just want to know, as a former linebacker at Temple, how would you have tried to shut down Joe today?
I would have gone for his ankles. I would have tried to shoot the gap and go for his ankles, but you know what happened at Temple yesterday, 55
Yes, I do. So
there goes my opinion.
Your credibility is out the window. Hey,
Absolutely.
Thanks, Vince, and thanks, Joe. We'll come back right after this. A lot more to come here on the fifth quarter where the Giants beat the Jets by a final of 41-28. Welcome back to the show. Gary Apple alongside John Riggins. And, John, we were talking during the break here. The Giants now just a game out of first place behind the Redskins, who got beat by Detroit today. Let's take a look at those highlights. We head for Detroit and the Silver Dome. And Gus Farad, the former Skin quarterback, doing it to his old team.
Yeah, right here he gets Herman Moore, who's been out for the better part of the season with an injury, and it's his first catch, touchdown. Got a little momentum for Detroit going.
10-10 game, and then look at this. Desmond Howard, the former Heisman Trophy winner, and look at him go. They just signed him, John, last night. He pays immediate dividends.
And another guy that's playing against one of his former old teams. And exactly, I'm thinking this guy barely had time to, get fitted for his uniform. He puts it on and scores a touchdown for him.
All right, it was 20-10 Lions, third quarter. Brad Johnson looking for Michael Westbrook. Great move right there. He's in for the touchdown. Cut it to 20-17, but that's as close as they would get because the defense then came up very big for Detroit.
Yeah, and I think they were doing this the whole game, actually. They were after Johnson. Johnson, unfortunately, fumbles the football, and that's a wrap. Goes in for a touchdown. All
right, 33-17, the final there again. The Skins are now 7-5, the Giants 6-6, and the Cowboys playing New England tonight. Depending on what happens in that game, they will either be tied for first, but technically in first place, or tied with the Giants for second. So we've got a race here, man.
Yeah, it's opening up. Unfortunately, the Redskins, like everything else, is the pecking orders. It's Dallas, it's Washington, and then it's the Giants. And just because of that head-to-head, it takes a lot to overcome. It's almost like a second game you have to overcome once they fall behind, because the head-to-head, the team that's beat you twice gets the advantage.
The Giants' schedule is brutal from here on out. At Buffalo, at St. Louis, then home against Minnesota, then at Dallas, and so it will not be easy. Now, the other guy to talk about today, we talked about Kerry Collins. Man, he was spectacular, threw for over 300. Can you believe that nobody has done that for the Giants since Phil Simms back in the early 90s?
Yeah, and it's hard to believe because you've had Dan Reeves here as a coach who knows a few things about offense and how to put some yards or at least some points on the board. And, of course, you've had Fassel here for the past 3 years, and they've yet to get a guy over 300 yards. That is because, sometimes I guess 300 yards is for a quarterback. Maybe that's like a 200-yard game for a running back.
Was this a coming-out party today for Kerry Collins? I know he had started a couple of games before this, but this was the first time, John, I really felt like he was in command, that he was the captain of the ship.
Yeah, from the very get-go, and I think it was just because this team, everything was going well offensively. And also, a lot of his early throws, it seemed to me, because there was so much separation between the defensive backs, they weren't particularly hard throws, which is the very kind of thing that you need to build your confidence. And then all of a sudden, you can start throwing the ball behind your back. It's like, you just really know you can get the job done. And that's what Kerry Collins did today.
You see, it's the magic of television here, John. We talk about Kerry Collins, and poof, just like that, he's standing by with Vince. Let's go back there now. Vince, you're on.
One heck of a day for Giants quarterback Kerry Collins, his second straight start for the organization. Kerry, we talked about it earlier before we came on the air. He is the first, and I'm sure you guys talked about it, the first quarterback since Phil Simms in '93 to throw for 300 yards. This game really won in the first half. Talk to me about the game plan. You almost seem to have a 50-50 mix between the run and the pass.
I think we ran the ball much than we have in the past, and I think the guys up front deserve a lot of credit. They came off the ball, and we came out in the first quarter and really running the ball hard, and as a result, it opens up a lot that you can do in the pass game. So hopefully we can build on that.
First half, it seemed to be Ike Hilliard was your favorite target. Second half, you seemed to go a lot to Amani Toomer. Did you see a lot of man-to-man coverage that you liked?
Yeah, we did. They were singling up guys on the outside, and on two of them, two of the touchdowns to Amani, actually all three. They were one-on-one on the outside, and Amani gave me a place to throw the ball, especially on the two longer passes. The short one was just a throw and a catch and a run. So those guys can play. There's no doubt about it. I've said that all along, and I think they showed it today.
Kerry, you've had some problems both on the field and off the field. What type of confidence booster does today's game give you?
It gives me a lot of confidence. I had confidence last week and throughout this week, and last week we threw the ball well and ended up throwing some interceptions, and the turnovers hurt us. But I feel very comfortable here, very confident, and this certainly will help out in the future.
Kerry, John Riggins here.
Hey, John, how you doing?
First of all, congratulations. Let me ask you something. Today, Sean Payton calls the plays. Before it's been Jim Fassel. Was there any time or any part of the game you were surprised by the plays they were calling? Because it looks like you actually probably ran the ball maybe 10 or 15 times more than you threw it.
Yeah, that was our game plan coming in. We said we wanted to run the ball. We felt like we had a good scheme against these guys, and like I said, the guys up front, they made up their minds we were going to run the ball, and it was able to open up some things in the pass game.
Question for you here, Kerry. Gary Apple here in the studio. You and I sat down, we talked this week, we talked about the schedule, how brutal it gets after this game, Buffalo, St. Louis, Minnesota, Dallas. You were insistent to me that you guys are not out of the playoff picture. Now, with Washington losing today, what's your mindset now?
Well, we got to still take it one game at a time. I think this week was a good start, and we certainly did a lot of good things offensively and defensively. So,
you know, but unless we keep taking it one game at a time, you know, we're not going to give ourselves a chance. And, you know, it starts with Buffalo next week.
Very briefly, this was your first Jets-Giants game. How much trash talk went on out on the field?
Not a whole lot, you know, not a whole lot. We got after them a little bit right away, and, you know, guys were playing hard. There's no doubt about it. And, you know, there certainly was an extra special feel to this game.
Kerry, one last quick question. Joe Montgomery, did he have an impact on the game today?
I think he did. I think Joe played extremely well, especially for a rookie coming in. He's been banged up a lot this year, and but he felt good all week. I talked to him on Thursday or Friday, and I was like, "Hey man, are you ready?" And he's like, "Yeah, you know, I'm just gonna let the game come to me and do the things that I can do." And I think he showed that today.
All right, Kerry, congratulations. Wonderful game for Kerry Collins. Vince, thanks. We'll get back out to you out at Giants Stadium. 341 yards passing. He looked very comfortable both during the game and when we were speaking with him, John. I think he feels like he is the man right now. Let's take a break here on the 5th quarter. More to come when we return as the Giants beat the Jets 41-28. Not the defensive battle that everybody was expecting. Back in a moment. Now let's go right back out to Giants Stadium. Pepper Johnson standing by with Ray Lucas. Pepper, take it away.
All right, Gary, John. Ray, it was a tough loss for you guys. I mean, the Battle of New York. You know, how strong, how much emphasis was placed during the course of the week?
A whole bunch on, you know, whose stadium this is and all that other stuff. But what it came down to is who wanted to win more today, and we didn't.
Yeah, Coach Parcells said at his press conference about you guys being flat and not really coming out. Halftime, what was said? Did he say anything to you guys to try to motivate you after, you know, being down by 20 points?
I told her, I mean, I think it was more as us talking at halftime, you know, that, hey, listen, we got to pick this up. It doesn't matter what we do, we could still win. We've done it before. You know, we can do it again. And so we went out there, we had a little bit more fire when we went out there to say, but, you know, things just didn't work out that way for us today.
Yeah, a lot of big play players, you know, tried to get the ball to the big play players that make big plays. And Curtis, you know, Curtis got shut down today. No running effort from the offensive line?
You know what? I don't even know what happened. I was out there, and like you saw what I saw, I still don't know what happened. So I'm just going to go home and think about it.
I know it was a tough loss. I appreciate you stopping over here and talking to us for a while. John and Gary, back to you in the studio.
All right, Pepper and Ray, thank you very much. John, if I said that Ray Lucas was going to go 31-48, no interceptions, and 4 touchdowns today, I would think you would have said to me the Jets will win the game.
Yes, I would have.
Not to put words in your mouth, but 4 touchdown passes.
Yeah, well, yeah, but obviously the Giants put a few more up there.
They did, yes.
I'll tell you what the real stat here is, though, that you look at it, and it is what they finished up with, the rushing yardage. Curtis Martin, 6 carries, 4 yards rushing. Yep. And you had Joe Montgomery had 38 carries for, I think, 111. And that tells you just exactly what we've heard from everybody, who wanted it more. When you see rushing stats that are that imbalanced, you see an offensive line that wanted more than the other.
All right, very briefly, before we go, are the Giants legitimate contenders, 5 seconds or less?
Oh, man.
Come on, man. You're on the spot. You're on the hot seat. Take it and run with it.
Yes, they are, because they play in such a lousy division.
I've handed off the ball to John
Not because they're such a great team.
He's taken
and I probably fumbled it.
He's run up the middle with it. And at this hour, we don't know if he has scored a touchdown. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the 4th quarter. Again, the Giants beating the Jets 41-28. We want to thank our cast of characters, Pepper Johnson outside the Jets locker room, Vince DeMentri outside the Giants locker room. Good to sit with you, John. We'll see you back tonight on Sports Wrap Live.
All right, Gary, I'll be here.
All right, that's it, guys. See you later tonight.